Uba local government in Borno State.
Niger railway workers spoke out as they issue a 3-day warning industrial action bill to commence on Thursday, November 18, 2021. They said that the safety of passengers who use the train is in the hands of workers who receive less than 30,000 naira.
And as always, we will be reviewing the papers on Off the Press this morning with our guests and sharing with you some of the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this Monday morning.
Always good to have you join us this beautiful Monday morning.
We hope you had a very brilliant weekend. We're of course going to be starting up the conversations this morning with talking about the top trending stories. Just two of them that have, of course, created conversations across Nigeria over the weekend. For some people who didn't necessarily have a great weekend, as good as Mercy's, we're starting, of course, with a person called Samuel Ogundipe. I hope I pronounced it right, who is, of course, the publisher of the People's Gazette. If you know that media house is an online media platform that has been very, very popular in the last few years, mostly churning out, media reports and investigative reports on the Nigerian government and beyond. But the story is a very dirty one for Samuel Ogundipe this morning. And, of course, these are still allegations. It is said that he's currently on the run from the EFCC and the DSS after he is accused of trying to, take, some amount of money, for a blackmail rather, a certain very popular person, Alan Oyema, the owner of Air Peace Airlines, of $300,000. The story basically says that he had written a story on Air Peace Airlines on Alan Oyema, and of course had called him. I reached out to him to tell him that there was a story that he was working on, and he was, going to go ahead to publish it, except these are the allegations, except, of course, he got, some money from Alan Oyema. And then, it goes on to say that Alan, tells him that these stories are false, and that, no part of it is actually true. But, of course, they eventually got to talking about how much money was required to end, this conversation. And, Samuel Ogundipe allegedly then says $300,000. Alan Oyema offers $150,000. They come to an agreement. And then, he invites him. Well, at this point, Alan Oyema then reaches out to the DSS and the EFCC, who then ask him to continue with the conversation. And then, it goes on. Then he invites Samuel Ogundipe to his office to pick up, the money in 3 tranches. Samuel then says that he's not in the country at the moment and he will send an assistant to, pick up the first, payment. And so he sends one of his staff, I believe, a female. She goes to Alan Oyema's office and then she's arrested by the EFCC and the DSS operatives. And, that's where the story wraps up. So it's basically a very, very dirty story. That normally, when you see things like this, the first thing that will come to mind for a lot of people would be that, it's simply just a, way of the Nigerian government trying to bring down a media, house, an online media platform that has been, very, 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 vocal. Putting out, anti-government stories, or at least, putting out some very, very damning investigative reports on the Nigerian government. But, I've looked at it also, and I would say that I don't want to just hold that narrative. There seems to be more of it, or more connected to it, because you wouldn't necessarily drag Alan Oyema into a messy situation like this if there wasn't some element of, truth here and there. Might be 10% truth, might be 90%, nobody knows.
No, but I'm thinking that, first of all, if this is anything to go by, because according to the law, he's innocent until being proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. And so, therefore, it is what it is. But if that story is something to go by, it's unethical, it's actually unprofessional of him to do that. Yeah. So yes, it's possible that yes, there's an element of truth to the story that yes, Alan Onyema did XYZ according to that report. Yeah. But the fact that he's actually telling him that, you know, if he gives him, he needs to take money not to publish the story, it doesn't make sense. So if you have a story, you have a report, and you're sure that everything is together, you're sure that all of your facts are correct, why not put out a story? Rather than, you know, wanting to blackmail. I think that's where the issue is. But like we've rightly mentioned, fingers are going to be crossed until this is also
until
not
Samuel Ogundipe, you know, clears the air, you know, because I think everything now falls on his table. It is left for him to now come out and state exactly what the situation is. You know, if there truly was a story concerning Alan Onyema or Airpeace Airlines, if there truly, you know, was a conversation on, you know, on $300,000 or, you know, some level or some blackmail, if, you know, he asks for money, or don't know who and who, you know, is involved in situations like this. You know, sadly, this is the People's Gazette that a lot of people have trusted for a long time, you know, now, mostly in the current administration, because of the reports that they've put out. And so this might do some damage to their reputation and to the credibility of their reports and some of all of that. But, you know, once again, it's really depending on what Samuel Ogundipe is able to, you know, say from here, because it's really left to him. He worked at Premium Times. I remember when he was at the Premium Times, and it was also very popular at the Premium Times before then, you know, setting up the People's Gazette. So everything really, the ball is in his court.
It really does, and we're hoping that you remember over time, you constantly hear the fact that, you know, journalists have been accused of the brown envelope and the fact that they hoard the stories, and that's really not cool. We have talked about corruption over time, and corruption is not just limited in a particular space. Like I always say, you might not become the president, you might not become the governor tomorrow, or a senator, or chairman of your local government. But I'm saying in the sphere where you have control, what are you doing with that control? What are you doing, you know, at that little corner? So everyone, in everywhere that we find ourselves, you know, you have control over something. And if we begin to shine our lights, I'm beginning to sound very spiritual now, but if we begin to do the right thing, I'm saying, imagine that you do the right thing. Let's follow the procedures, the practice of what we ought to do. I remember a time where one of my relatives had to share an experience of, you know, getting to a hospital, and then you find out that the doctor is trying to play very smart on you, trying to tell you that you have XYZ when you don't have it, you have some kidney failure, it could be, you know, all of that fear, so that you could probably, they could charge you for more and treat you for what it actually is. Maybe you just have a fever or malaria, but then they constantly tell you, oh, it could be kidney failure, it could be some liver issue, it could be cancer, you know, you have this, it looks like this, and then you'll be scared, cajoled to actually drop more monies, and then they'll be treating you just for malaria. So yes, the corruption is in every area of our economy, and like I always say, that's not on the president now, that's not on the governor, and that's on you. Let's do the right thing, especially in this profession, because, you know, when you talk about the judiciary, people constantly say the judiciary is the hope of the common man, as well as the media as well. I mean, we're there, you know, to be the watchdog of the people and for the people, and we cannot compromise, you know, the practice. Yeah,
and I agree, you know, and but once again, you know, these are still allegations, and that's what they would be until there is some truth, you know, and sadly, well, not sadly, actually, this is, you know, the level of information that we have concerning this. But
it doesn't mean that it's not true. There's a tendency that, yes, there's an element of it is true. Also, on the other hand, it's also possible that it could also be government. It could also be that government is just...
and that's why we need to hear from the other side, you know. So, you know, this is, like I said, this is the amount of information we have on this story now. It is now left for Samuel Ogundipe and the People's Gazette to go ahead and share their own side of the story and let us know if all of this is false, if there was any interaction whatsoever, if there was any report whatsoever concerning Alan Onyema, if there was any talk about money, if they have any conversation. Certain financial institutions in Nigeria that have been called out on social media for closing or shutting down accounts of some of their customers. And this is with reactions to trading in cryptocurrency. Necessarily verify where cryptocurrency transactions has been called out, mostly because of the way and manner that it has carried out its own, you know, checks and balances with, you know, the cryptocurrency, you know, watch. The challenge with it mostly is that, you know, a lot of people have complained that even accounts that have no business with cryptocurrency have been closed. Because they seem to have fraudulent transactions, they seem to have more transactions than normal, or than is expected. But I'm going to share where I think the biggest challenge is, because I understand the concerns or the points and policies that have been set by the regulator, which is the CBS. stereotyping with, the way that they are carrying out their activities, and that is where the challenge is coming from. It says here, and then the topic here is the lead in identify persons, entities transacting or operating in cryptocurrency and inform compliance. So this one for me doesn't really make a lot of sense, and it's really not enough reason for you to be shutting down an account simply because the person is receiving inflow from.
Why were the banks created? The banks are created for us to, put our valuables, keep valuables and keep monies, and that's it. I don't know if the banks were created for, they were meant to audit, the income of people. Yeah. So it just makes it very confusing. Not very confusing, but totally embarrassing, because it feels like we do not know what we're doing at this point in time as a country. Yes, you think you want to check out, illicit flow or financial crimes and all of that, but should the banks be the one auditing and all of that? And I'm thinking that right now, he would actually pave way for cryptocurrency, to be practiced. If you have these banks telling right now, how do you now call on EFCC on me that you found XYZ amount of money? I don't understand.
It's complete madness. And, it continues to look like Nigeria, the Nigerian government is fighting a cryptocurrency or fighting innovation that they just don't want to thrive. The world is moving in that direction.
Then we actually have the e-naira.
Well, e-naira is not necessarily cryptocurrency. It's really just an online. E-naira is like Kuda Bank. My point really is, it continues to look like the Nigerian government is trying to choke on people who are thriving somehow, some way. I understand, that these banks fear the CBN. They don't need to wait.
I should be freezing at the sneeze of
But
CBN.
it really is because of the country that we currently are. And that's the same thing with telcos. When the Nigerian government said, that Twitter should be suspended, should be shut down. If you don't know the thing, and I'm going to share some other thing with you. Number 20 on this list says accounts such as this, savings account, market of 18 and 30 years as signatories. So you're saying that in the current Nigeria in 2021, a person between 18 and 30 is already seen as a criminal if they have multiple inflows into their accounts. It doesn't matter if they run POS businesses at the side of the road at the junction. It doesn't matter if they run food businesses and they have a lot of people ordering food every day. It doesn't matter if their makeup. It doesn't matter. It's pretty much the same. Apologies. It's pretty much the same way the Nigerian police would stereotype and criminalize a person that they see that is young and has a car or has a laptop. It's the same thing.
No, the stereotypes, it also goes to show a long way. A young lady pretty dressed up like myself right now, and you're being tagged, you've been given all of those. Not the way to go, to handle the situation. You don't begin to ask banks to begin to audit. Since when did that happen? And then the banks themselves can come together. Don't they have, can come together to be? You remember that as well. So you have kids who are in school, and then you need to send them resources, for school fees and what have you. Yeah. It's really, really sad. It's ridiculous, and unfortunate.
To be honest. All right. Those are our top trending stories this morning. Stay with us. We'll take a short break. When we come back, Off the Press kicks off, where we have a review of the stories making headlines across Nigeria this Monday morning.
From November, stars, celebrities, and international personalities at Africa.
Challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria.
Welcome back to The Breakfast on PlusTvAfrica. Let's take you through the front pages of the national dailies. As usual, we will have Ezekiel Nyai to join the conversation. I start off with the Daily Independent newspaper this morning. Let's find out what's making it on the Daily Independent newspaper. Banks hedge against new credits, prefer CBN is quoted on that. And you also have the writer saying, no concrete decision yet on zoning of presidential ticket. Says, my government's downfall will go down, says Governor Yesam Wike. And you also find, don't allow direct primaries, Rose Cottle electoral bill, Saraki Okechukwu wants. And you also find Buhari attends IATF summit in South Africa today. Oyo's I0 growth result of hard work. That's what Makinde is quoted to say. That's so much we can take on the Daily Independent newspaper this morning.
Launches fresh raids, seizes 4.9 billion naira worth of cocaine in Lagos ports and others. Invasion, Provost blames land grabbers and miners as Oshun quizzes principal officers. We can also find here, Benanoa kills daughter, beheads neighbors' corpses as money rituals fails in Ogun. None of our 41 members insured Ikoyi collapsed building, says NIA. And also this morning on the Punch, Nigerian banks lend private sector 4.1 trillion naira in 1 year. I don't know what happened to the camera I recovered at Lekki Tollgate, says Agent Fash. And we can also find we can share on the Punch newspaper.
And ports, and the cost of all of that will be $225.12 million. And of course, the source will be the China Bank. Well, all of that on the Nation newspaper this morning. And new borrowings push Nigeria's debt stock to 52 trillion naira. That's what you find. Ndume, a swap regrouping in Borno North. That's what you also find. Man worried over looming 1.9 this morning. Collapse Ikoyi building not insured. IDP's camp opens in Lagos. That's what you find. That's so much we can take on the Nation newspaper this morning.
And on The Guardian, manufacturers lose 50% half-year profit to operating and forex costs. Epileptic power supply exchange rates raise cost of production by 30%. Also, stakeholders urge federal government to reschedule existing loans, grant tax holiday to firms. We can also find here Igodalo, Peter Obi, and others fault Buhari, say failed education system driving Nigerians. All right. Undume is one name that has made headlines across the papers this morning, and it's with regards to the regrouping of ISWAP militants or terrorists around Lake Chad, according to him. I'm not sure why he is the one even giving out the putting out the information. It should be, the security agencies, not Senator Ali Undume. But what are your thoughts with
responsibility? And I keep saying the same thing. I'm starting to sound like a broken gong. Some things just don't add up. In a weekend that you have a general killed, and over a sustained period where you have killings on a daily basis, is that really the best time for Mr. President to go out in search of investors? There's really something I don't understand, because some or on Twitter or something, and that is global news, that Nigeria has just keep ticking the boxes. But before he goes, he must have been told what is in the mind of the business person. The very first thing on the list is personal security. Personal security. Dead men tell no tales. When that is ticked, the next thing is business security. You've got to tick those two before you go into other aspects, whether there's market and all that. Now, that once it's about 2 years to the end of your administration, on the chair, give them 3 months, and you start to hear a different story. So because of this, when you are going for a second term, there is that hope that you may get it. But when you are ending your second term, you're on your way out. So what do? You come back in and do what you call finishing strong. When Mr. President is going out at this point, he's like, oh, he has conquered everything. He's achieved everything he set out to do. There's nothing left for him to do again. He's looking for new things to do. Even if it was new things to do, he should be thinking of things that he can accomplish within the next 6 months before elections start. So going out now to look for investors, I honestly don't get it. Unless, like, somebody said jokingly, it wasn't jokingly, a little child, when they say president has gone to South Africa, I said, oh, is he now going to borrow money from South Africa? In which case, as far as that little child is concerned, a secondary school student, president has gone to South Africa to borrow money. Maybe they don't finish the one for China. And maybe that of South Africa is that of elections. So, Guy, I don't get it.
Okay, Binu, we're talking about borrowings already. Let's share your thoughts on the new borrowings of the federal government and also the plans on these new borrowings. According to the government, they are going to be, that's on the Nation newspaper, by the way, the Lagos-Ibadan Railway and also the Apapa Tinka Island Port.
I want to be location specific. And the cab that took me, or the person that directed me to where I was going, there was an uncompleted bridge. And I asked, when will this bridge be completed? So please, if Mr. Senate President was to be patriotic, I would advise him, I would appeal to him not to borrow any more money. When the new administration comes in, they will reevaluate the project, reprioritize of things that are so unprofessional and unbecoming of a government, of a country. So I think that they should just leave it. 2 years, we will not die. Let us just leave this new project. Concentrate on the ones into A, B, C. Project A are those that are the absolutes. What you must do. You've committed yourself so far to a reasonable level of competence, 1 or 2. They are called legacy projects. Think you like, please just allow me to do this. For instance, because you are doing financial reengineering based on the funds you have and not the funds you hope to borrow. When you do that, you sit down and at the 6 months to the end of your tenure, you have been able to finish writing the exam paper. All you are doing is just reading through to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. That is what Mr. President should be doing.
What has been started, if nothing has been started. It's of course, it's with regards to the conversation on, what the...
It's Agent Fash, as you call him, happens to be one of my heroes. First, as the governor of Lagos State, I literally adored the man. And then maybe to reward me, they now made him the Minister for Housing, which is my area. And in all fairness to him, he's been extremely good to me as a friend and as a brother. In this matter, I wish I could tackle him real hard, but let's do something so important. And then you now didn't know where it went after that. No, that doesn't sound like the Fash that I know. I think that he must have been quoted out of context. What he should say is the camera was left in custody of XYZ. Please ask them what they did. And Nigerians will not hold him responsible because it was not his duty, responsibility, or his office to cost
investigation. Because
if it was not relevant, the media will not be on it. I'm sure you know that. If it was not relevant, they would have forgotten that long ago. Wow. That they are bringing it up again means that they know that it was relevant.
Well, hopefully, the camera was able to capture some moments at the toll gate, and we will also help with the investigation. Let's see how that goes on that one.
Okay, let's quickly move our attention to the Daily Independent newspaper, and might not assent to that bill.
You see, I've been in politics for a very long time, and I've played at different levels. I always tell people, for you to be the ward and local government Congress committee chairman to a state in a PDP, you must be very high up there, and that's the position that I occupied. From there, I became the pioneer national chairman of the Young Democratic Party, which I co-founded. From there, I've contested the governorship of my state on 2 occasions and might yet. And people started saying, oh, it's because the House of Reps has you what you want. And you're not thinking well. You're not thinking through the process. Okay, if you're going to have direct primaries, does it conflict with anything? Direct primaries is good. I am for direct primaries any day, anytime. But when you say it must be that and nothing else, foreclose any other alternative, I foresee a situation where it goes to Mr. President, and Mr. President is advised that this will not stand in the withstand the weight of the law, that there's going to be this, and there's this passage of the budget and things. It is kept, and by the time they are through with, I want Mr. President to do 2 things for me. Number 1, sign that act, unbundle them, let electronic transmission of results go independently, so that they can deal with that as a separate body, and then the primaries can also be dealt with as a separate body. But better still, if it's too late in the day, let Mr. President, if he means well, because the target here is not the direct or indirect primaries, it's not. The target here is to bring in a conversation that will make sure that Mr. President brings back. They are afraid of the issue of electronic transmission of results. You are bringing in a certain controversy that will ensure that Mr. President, acting in all good conscience, sends that bill back to you. And by the time you now come to debate it again, there's going to be agreement and disagreement and back and forth, and it becomes too late. And we would have lost that confidence of even when it's approved, because the moment it's returned, the confidence of the people that is sky high right now will start to drop. And we don't want that. So we are saying, Mr. President, assent to it and immediately send in something that says this direct primaries, we won't have any problems with you. All we want is that results are transmitted directly from the polling units. That's what gives me confidence to go into the field to contest for the governorship of Akwa Ibom State, because I know that once the results are from the polling units, I'm as good as can be, I'm as happy as can be. But once it goes into all this collation, no collation, and the abracadabra that nobody ever understood, I think that is something that people like me will be very discouraged. And that's what you want to hear. But trust me, you're not going to have your way this time around.
All right. As the president travels around the world to market Nigeria, to France, and to South Africa, and whoever else, marketers or manufacturers rather here in the country are complaining, and it's on the loans and grant tax holidays and some other firms. But the main catch really is the struggle of manufacturers are dealing with here in the country, and dealing with some of the things that make it even harder to excel in this space. So, Mr. Ayatok, can President Buhari in any way convince investors and manufacturers to invest in Nigeria, seeing the climate that we currently have here?
2 things. The very first thing is that I'm a private sector person. I've never held or never accepted any appointment. I'm strictly a private sector person. In which case, I understand what it means for you to ask me to come and invest somewhere. Look at the bottom line. I'm into housing, and there are several states that have asked me, including the northern states, that have asked me to come and do housing projects with them. And I just sit them with them and I'm asking them 1, 2, 3 questions. What's your market like? What are you willing to guarantee? What are the sweeteners you are putting on the table? Okay, yes, you have those numbers. I get I will target table. This is your own. This is our own. That is over 90%. There was a time that my former governor, Atta, is still around. I was the first Nigerian that got a facility from PlusTvAfrica for any state government. A particular governor told him that if Architect Yaito does not come to me, I will take my siren and go to Uyo, and that will be embarrassed. The government said, I went to the guy and sat down as a governor. All he was telling me was how much. I said, sir, this is a loan, and I need to see the exit strategy. Whatever I was talking, I need to be able to convince them on the exit strategy. He said, hey, God, 1st of November. The MD, don't know who can convince me that Mr. President, I mean, what is he going to negotiate? What is he going to say? It's the technical people that do the groundwork, they do the analysis, they do the defense, they do on investments that are supposed to be doing the work. Where is it the place of Mr. President? Mr. President goes there to sign off and not to scout for. There's something I don't understand. There's something that is not adding up. There's not something that's not adding up. If Mr. President wants to take a vacation or something, let's.
But aside the president, and the angles concerning the president, can we also share a little bit about, how difficult it is for these manufacturers here in the country, and those who have brought their businesses down here in Nigeria, having to deal with epileptic power supply and some of all of that.
Full landscaping, everything. I don't have power in my estate as we speak. This is national television, international television. Why is that so? Is there any payment that I've not made? Is there anything I have not done? Nothing. I don't have light. I run generator for 2 years after the transformers have been installed. I hope the minister in charge of power and the rest can hear this and take me up on it. What is the problem? Now, this is what people face in this country in doing business. The bureaucracy is just awful. I can't even get money from the bank. Did you hear in one of the papers, you saw that the banks are willing to pay the fines than to embark on new loans. Did you see that? And then what is government telling people that are investors? Are they telling them that you cannot have, investment comes in different ways. Some people have the technicalities, they have the know-how, they have the workmanship, they need the funding. Some people have the funding, they are looking for a way to invest. All these different dynamics are things that interplay and create an investment environment in a country. It is holistic, and they have to do it. They must make their profit, but you listen to the two sides of the divide, but make sure that the economy, the system is protected. Right now, we that are in the private sector have no level of protection within the system. And it is not okay, it's not enough. And as we are speaking today, your friend in China is watching this. Any finishes addressing the people and walks out, they are going to carry a copy of this letter, of this paper, and show to the Nigerian team and say, all right, bros, what do you people say about this? And they are going to say, oh boy, leave that thing. So it's either they are going to think of the country. Anyway, bottom line, in Nigeria, the investors are having a hard time, the manufacturers. And let me tell you, they said something about reducing the fines. Government, so like a tablet, and we, within 30 minutes, we had finished the registration, within 30 minutes. And they told us, give us 24 hours and you get your certificate. And we said payment. They said, no, you can't talk of payments now. We need to help you to grow so that when you make the business and you're successful, then you will be able to take, you can either print and use or you come and get a hard copy, any of the two. What am I saying? These are people who understand investment dynamics. We are not going to kill you. We are going to fatten you up like a lamb, like a pig.
For your time this Monday morning, for kicking off the week for us, and we wish you a beautiful week ahead. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And just before, Snow was a mentally disabled white woman from Illinois and claimed that James Montgomery, a black veteran and factory worker, raped her. He was promptly thrown in jail, spent more than 25 years in prison before his conviction was overturned and he was released. From the start, his trial, of course, seemed ill-fated. The local Ku Klux Klan members threatened Montgomery's lawyer during the proceedings. He was eventually found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. But while serving time, Montgomery studied law in an attempt to prove his innocence. His attorney, Kuttner, discovered a medical report from Snow's hospitals revealing that not only was she never raped, she was also likely a virgin. Montgomery was eventually then once again released in 1949. Very interesting story.
Quite interesting.
Yes, it is. All right, and that's what we have for you today in history. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going into our first major conversation for today, where the National Union of Railway Workers are threatening to go on a 3-day one.
The winner is Africa. Are you ready for this?
Wake up Motherland to electrifying performances at the 2021 All Africa Music Awards. Afrima from November 19th to the 21st, 2021 at Eco Hotels, Lagos, Nigeria.
Featuring Africa Music Business Summit, a platform for business networking and interaction among music professionals.
Join Afrima Music Fest, an evening of non-stop music concerts with live broadcasts and performances from African music superstars. Date is Friday, November 19th from 6 p.m.
Sunday, November 21st comes with all the glitz and glam from Africa's music superstars, celebrities and international personalities at Afrima Awards Ceremony. Red carpets 4:30 p.m, awards 7:30 p.m.
All at the Hotels and Suites, Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. For tickets and seat reservation, visit www.afrima.org. Brought to you by GoBed247.com.
Navadina Hair.
Address home. Afrima. Still we sing. For hope, for celebration.
Seize it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Can leverage on each other's spaces and
made in Niger, showing everything.
They, of course, are complaining of working conditions and very poor remuneration. And, you know, maybe you held a meeting on the 10th of November. Give us, some details.